This is the story of Joel and Joyce Gardner. Enjoy. Joel Gardner was born January 9th, 1943. Joyce Wright was born November 22nd, 1946. Joel and Joyce Gardner were united in marriage on September 1st, 1967. Here is their story.
My name is Joyce Wright Gardner, and I was born in Phoenix, Arizona in November 22nd, 1946. And I grew up with an older brother and an older sister, and my mom and dad were from Salt Lake City. My dad and mother met in LDS Business College, and my dad left to find a warm climate because he had lung problems, and they told him he probably wouldn't live very long. So he decided he wouldn't marry anybody, but he got a second patriarchal blessing in the temple that told him he would marry someone and have children. So he had corresponded with my mother that whole time and went back, and they were engaged and got married in the Salt Lake Temple. And then they loaded up their little car with a trailer behind it and left for Phoenix. And so growing up was like, my sister and I call it a fairy tale, because we really didn't have to work. We didn't have to worry about money. My dad earned a lot of money. I was given a car at 16. I had rules of coming home, and if I was out on the porch too late, my dad would flip the light off and on the porch for me to come in. And we basically didn't pair off with the boys much. They were just our friends. So I didn't have a boyfriend in high school. I had a boy I really liked, and he went to a high school in Scottsdale, but he ended up getting a different girlfriend. It wasn't me. So
my name is Joel DeLoss Gardner. DeLoss was my father's name, and it's been the name of the firstborn throughout quite a while. I was born in Afton, Wyoming in January the 9th, 1943. I was the youngest of 8 children, and I had some things that was a little different than any of my brothers and sisters, and they tell me about those really often. I was the only child that was born in the hospital. The other 7 were all born at home. All of my older 7 brothers and sisters graduated from the University of Wyoming, and I graduated from Brigham Young University. So I had an older brother, and then we had 4 sisters. And then we had another brother, and Dad was the principal of the Grover Elementary School at the time, and he was so excited to get a second boy that he bought candy bars for all of the students that were there at the school. The sisters were not too happy with all of that. But growing up with 5 older sisters, I really never did do anything in the house. I never made a bed, I never cooked, my 5 sisters did all of that, and came back the next Monday to Mike's house, and we'd written down on a paper either we were staying or going. And I undone mine first and said, I was going. Mike looked kind of shocked and undid his, and it said staying. And so we made a different decision. And I always thought for sure Mike was going to go, and that influenced me, and Mike for sure thought I was going to stay, and that influenced him. And so I ended up going on the mission. And it was interesting, in the mission home, I run into President Lee one day when they would come over to talk to the missionaries, and And he came and talked with me and said, "So you decided to go on a mission, huh?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "What about your cousin?" And I said, well, he decided to stay. And he said, "Well, 1 out of 2, that's not bad."
We got to the end of that year and we both wanted to graduate. I could graduate and he could graduate, but he had to pass an English class. So he asked me, I was very pregnant, and he asked me to come and get him out of the final exam of a literature class. So I had to open the door, go in, and she knew I was pregnant, and kind of yell, not yell, but say, Joel, hurry out, hurry. And so he able to pass the class because he didn't have to take the final exam. So we both graduated, and then right out of high school, he got the job as the head coach of the Spanish Fork Dons in Spanish Fork, Utah.
But she's really been a wonderful wife and a good mother, and I was really fortunate in having her as my sweetheart and my wife with me.
So Joel is very fun. We had a lot of fun times, like traveling to Wyoming. We'd always travel to Wyoming, and he would have one of the kids on his lap. Don't do this because it's against the law now. And drive a little bit. And once he had Jeff on his lap when he was a baby, and Jeff wet his pants, so it went all over Joel's pants, so he had to take his pants off. Well, Joel doesn't care. He stops and takes his pants off. And then we're driving in a highway, or a policeman pulls us over for speeding, and he doesn't have his pants. So he's yelling at me, "Give me my pants, give me my pants. I've got to put my pants on." So we have a lot of fun stories like that because we never were really planned.
Okay, let's talk about Julie, our oldest. First of all, as I look at families, a lot of times if the older ones do what they ought to do, it really goes down to the other kids. And Julie was really a good daughter. She had some real good qualities. She really took care of her younger brothers and sisters. A lot of interesting things would happen that we'd have fun. One time, Joyce's mother passed away, and they had to come later to the airport and come. We went on an earlier flight, and we told her, "Now don't be late, make sure you're there on time." So they go out to get in the car, and the car's locked, and they're gonna have to get up to the airport. And so she calls the police and has them come over to see if they could help her open the door. And so they're all out there kind of panicking, and so they're on the driver's side, and the door's there locked, and he's looking at that. But then he notices, and he walks around the car, and the window is down on the other side of it. So he just reaches in and opens the door, and we got quite a kick out of that. And Julie had more experiences like that happen but she really was an outstanding oldest daughter with things.
So now we are been home from our missions. We also had served in the temple, and we are both retired, and Joel actually worked he'll tell you about that, but I retired from cards after we went on our mission. And we have been just following our kids and grandkids around and enjoying life and getting old and having health issues that we didn't realize we'd ever have. But we have loved family and realize it's not always perfect. But was it President Holland that said, "Life isn't perfect, but it's good"? So that's my story.